to the Save SA Wine live stream. This morning we're kicking off with our 1660 campaign. Our 1660 campaign is a campaign where we are featuring one of our producers every day for 60 days. This started on the 30th of August and it will continue until the 28th of October. Our featured producer of today is a vineyard called Sijnn Wines. Website www.sijnn.co.za. The Seine is spelled Sijnn. It's www.sijnn.co.za. So Seine is an isolated vineyard in the Malgas ward near the mouth of the Breede River, and it's a word by the original Khoisan inhabitants. It's about 15 kilometers from the southern oceans of Africa, and the farm was founded by David Trafford of the Trafford Wines at Stellenbosch. David is also the winemaker. So when David saw the soils with the round river stones and some shale, this reminded him of Chateauneuf du Pape in the south of France, close to the city of Avignon, and the Douro in Portugal. He dug a few profile holes and now has about 23 hectares under bush vines. And this is a very interesting winery. Go read more about them. Go to the website. It's www.sijnn.co.za. I'm going to spell the Seine again. It's Sijnn. So it's www.sijnn.co.za. It will be great if you guys can support our 1660 campaign. Go to our website. It's www.savesawine.co.za. We have a producer calendar where we where we will put out all the producers and the dates on which they're going to be profiled. That's savesawine.co.za/1660. And then we on our Instagram, please go to www.instagram.com/savesawine.co.za. And then the hashtags to use. The hashtags to use are hashtag 1660, hashtag SaveSAWine, the hashtag and the hashtag Drink South African. On the 24th of September every year, wine.co.za encourage every South African around the world to open a bottle of South African wine with some new friends and let them taste some of your sunshine, while of course you're braaiing on Natural Heritage Day. And this year we are encouraging again. You can get the details of this initiative at wine.co.za/taste sunshine. And they also have a Facebook event that we've listed on our webpage and also on the it's on the wine.co.za website. We're really encouraging everybody to visit the winelands. I've made a video called COVID-19 Warning, a wake-up call to South African wineries. It's clear to us that it's going to be a very, very arid summer in terms of tourists. We just heard yesterday that the UK are going into level 4 COVID restrictions again. So it's going to be a long time before we get back to proper tourism in South Africa. So it's important that our wines business is focused on the local market. And it's also important that our local tourism market support the winelands. So please visit the winelands as much as you can. And yeah, if you're a winelands business, a great way for you to get more exposure for your wine, your restaurant, your accommodation, your winelands experience, or your winelands business is to use one of our premium service offerings. We realize that times are tough, and to give a helping hand, we've decided to give away a 500 Rand credit. It's a free credit that you can get as a gift to kickstart your summer promotion. And all you need to do is claim this by emailing your business details to visitthewinelands@gmail.com, and you can redeem this credit on your promotion store and this will help you to kickstart your promotion activities for summer. Then we want to say a big thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor of this morning's live stream is the Fishwives Club. The Fishwives Club is a boutique winery, and they are going to produce these fantastic cans, and you can be a winner. All you need to do is add your email to this website, fishwivesclubcangiveaway.gr8.com. That's fishwivesclubcangiveaway.gr8.com. The link is down below in the description, and you can win. Uh, be a winner of 24 of their fantastic cans. So make sure you enter for that. Then today I've been talking about the 1660 um, uh, promotion or campaign. And this project is led by Erica Taylor. Like we said, today's featured winery is Seine Wines. But my featured podcast is an interview I did a while ago, a few weeks ago, with Erica. And Erica is an independent PR and marketing professional. She's been with going since 2009. She's got over 16 years of experience in the international industry, and she's been on the wine industry focused since 2017. So, without wasting further time, before I forget, remember to log in tonight at 7 o'clock for our evening live stream. We're also going to publish some videos during the day. Um, but now I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to put Erica on. Please listen to the podcast with Erica Taylor.
A lot of whiskey was consumed, but as I kept drinking wine there, it was interesting. I was like, how is wine so different from so many different places? I had no idea. And so I was talking to my mom one day, and she told me that I don't know why she was hiding this information from me for the previous 30 years, but she told me that I could actually make a living doing wine. So I started doing some research and looked into WSET, took that course there, and then got offered a job at a vineyard in India, which most people don't know that India actually does have about 40 wine farms.
Wow.
And worked there, decided to come to South Africa for my birthday in I think it was April 2017, and absolutely fell in love with it. Moved here 2 months later, so clearly that is a trend of mine. If I go on holiday, I move there 2 months later. But I think I'm settled in South Africa. And yeah, so that's how I came here, and I came here specifically for wine.
So, Erica, I want to ask you a little bit about India and the wine industry. I mean, you say 40. I mean, I've never interviewed anybody that's been in the Indian wine industry, and frankly, I know nothing about it. So, can you tell us a few interesting things about it? I think everybody would love to hear that.
Yeah, so there actually is a fairly big book that actually it's called The Wines of India that actually talks about every single vineyard that's there. Nasik, which is about 3.5 hours northeast of Mumbai, is kind of considered the quote unquote Napa of India. It's home to the most popular farm. If you talk about wine in India, everyone talks about Sula. Sula wine actually has, I think, about 70% of the market share with regards to Indian wine. So they have a huge range. They do a huge festival every year. And the farm that I worked at was just behind them. It's called Soma. And the winemaker there, he had actually worked at Sula for 13 years before buying his own plot of land at the back of the farm and starting to produce wine there. So at the time that I was there, we were doing about 100,000 liters a year. And what's interesting about India is they actually have 2 harvests a year. So the harvest in August, September just is fruit that's just thrown away. And then the fruit that's used for the wine actually comes from the February, March harvest, depending on
Oh,
the weather. And very, very interestingly, so it gets up to, gosh, it gets up to 45, maybe 50 degrees there sometimes.
hmm,
And they are actually producing Pinot Noir.
wow, that's amazing.
and
So,
it's it's actually pretty good.
oh, that's so interesting. So, tell me, what about the where do they sell these wines? Is there because I mean, I've been around Delhi and those places, and like you say, people drink whiskey. There's not really a wine culture. They drink the local beers, the wheat beers. But I mean, is there a consumer market in India, or are these wines exported? What do they do?
They're mostly for domestic consumption. I mean, you have to realize there's 1.3 billion people in the country, so
This is true.
just producing enough wines for themselves is still a massive market. But actually, wine consumption in India is completely on the rise. In 2017, India got their first Master of Wine. Uh, Sonal Holland, she is a total champion of wines in India. I worked with her on several things, and there's also a growing sommelier market. Actually, the first person that took me to a wine farm in India, her name is Gargi Kotari, and she is a sommelier in India. And it's probably because of her that I actually really fully got my start. But the culture is definitely rising. Sonal Holland actually released a report as part of her Master of Wine certification on kind of the state of wine in India. And her study actually showed that even people that had never drank wine before for religious or cultural reasons had started to drink wine because it was aspirational. It made you look classy. Even people that don't
Mm.
drink would give wine as a gift because that was a sophisticated thing to do. Working in the tasting room, we had people that had never drank before come in and start tasting wines because, of course, doing a wine tasting is very classy, but when you do it at your house with 6 wines, people think you have a problem. So
That's interesting. So, I mean, that aspirational market or culture is really true. And I think that's why whiskey is popular because, you know, it's like people feel when they can serve a expensive whiskey that they've arrived. And then seems to be knowledge
totally.
about the whiskey prices and stuff like that. So it's very the in thing to have the latest and greatest whiskey around. So it's interesting
Exactly.
that the wine market is growing. Do you think there's an opportunity for South African producers to actually sell to India?
So that's actually the first place that I got to taste South African wines.
Wow.
Was in some of the finer restaurants there, which is
Hmm.
actually ended up how I came here. The Indian market is really difficult for imports because domestic alcohol itself is so expensive. A bottle of
Yes.
um, not the greatest wine that's a local wine is still going to run you over maybe 1,000. I'm sorry, over 150 rand. So then when you talk about the import costs, it's just astronomical, and it's totally unaffordable unless you're extremely wealthy. But if you are in South Africa, there is one place that I have seen Indian wines on the list, and it is in Franschhoek. And
Oh,
I'm forgetting the name of the restaurant, but I know the bottle of wine very well. I looked at it, but they're charging, I think it was 2,500 rand. So if you really want to try Indian wine, you probably should just go to India. It'll be much cheaper.
well, what we could do is one evening have a curry and wine tasting, and we'll a pairing, and we'll definitely have an Indian wine with that. I'm comparing that with South African wines. I think that would be quite fun.
I actually did. I work with the South African Sommeliers Association, and I actually did an Indian wine tasting at the end of last year from my
Mhm.
private collection. And sadly, I was meant to be in India the whole month of June this year, but obviously that was canceled, and I was meant to bring back enough wines for another tasting. So as soon as I'm able to head back to India, I promise I will bring back loads of wines for another tasting.
Okay, well, anyway, enough about India. We've gone completely off topic here, but it was so interesting. Um, Uncorkified, what is the history? How did you start it, and what do you do?
Yeah, so it's basically just something that is as morphed as I've gotten further into the wine industry. It started with just me studying, and then it started with me writing about wine, and ultimately having more clients in wine for marketing purposes. So I couldn't think of a good, I felt like all the, Instagram names and websites and, Uncorked and wine and all these other things. I couldn't quite think of the right words that I wanted to use. So I just invented Uncorkified, and it seemed to kind of fit. And so now it's kind of the hub of my wine life and my clients that I do marketing for in the wine industry.
Excellent. So, when did you start this, Erica?
Well, the name didn't come about until maybe, I don't know, the end of 2019, but I think it probably really started in my brain as soon as I started studying for WSET back in India.
Okay. So, what services are you providing to the wine industry, and who is your target audience?
So I work with any wine farms, any wine products. I work with clients in the US and the UK as well. So I have some clients in the US. One is a blind wine tasting board game that just raised $20,000 US dollars for their kickoff. And they're also going to make a virtual version. I also work with wine design companies. Locally, like I said, I work with the South African Sommeliers Association, and currently I'm actually just offering my services for some wine producers just to kind of give them some tips that they can use to up their own marketing without having to pay somebody because they're, struggling to survive at this point.
Would they typically engage you as a consultant, or how would you do that?
So usually I work they kind of hand over all their passwords, and I manage their Facebook, Twitter. I'm very trustworthy. So I handle Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of those things for the clients so that they don't have to worry about it. So to increase followers, to field questions, to run campaigns. Basically anything that happens digitally, I take care of for people in the wine industry.
So you work like what they call in the US a digital marketing agency service type of thing.
Correct. That is all encompassing.
Okay, and they would pay you. They would engage you on a monthly or a quarterly basis, and then pay you a fee, right? You don't take a commission or anything. You're purely fee based.
Yeah, I work on a retainer that is
Okay.
due at the beginning of the term. And I am very happy to say that I've been in business for myself for over 10 years, and I have never had a client not pay me.
Well, that's awesome. I think I also think that it depends. The type of clients you're getting in the wine industry are people that are in the business long term. So I don't think unless their business really, goes belly up, they're not going to pay you. So I think that is you're quite safe in that way. Just from a PR perspective, I mean, I know a lot of wine farms used to employ PR people, and get themselves in there. Do you add that? Is that an add-on to your social media management service? Do you do the PR as well?
So I do PR for my US and UK clients. I don't do PR in South Africa because it's quite different than it is abroad. In the US and the UK, you pitch different stories, different ideas that would fit for their audience, and then they take that and they write it, they run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in South Africa, it seems to be that the PR person writes the article and then sends it to the outlet, and then they publish that directly. So yes, it is. I was not trained that way, so it is too much of a new model for me to get used to it at 37 years of age.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, but I think also we're in a new world, right? I mean, with social media, I mean, you and I discussed a short discussion about this the other day, is really the new PR, right? Because every single person out there, their attention are on their phones. And I know that, print media and stuff like that still get readers, but, there's the attention of people are really on social media. How important do you think is this now for our local wine industry, social media?
I think it's massively important, but I also think that because when it started, it was just, hey, this is a free marketing tool, that people maybe didn't fully learn how to completely utilize it. And it changes every day. I mean, the algorithms change, the best practices change. So you really have to stay on top of what that is. And additionally, there was a study that was done that people, I think I'm actually considered a Zennial. I'm like in between millennials and Gen Z. And